and straightforward. My name is Bryson. I'm a private event chef cooking all over Scotland and the UK, internationally as well, and excited to be here today at Springfest to cook 3 dishes for you. I'm going to do one at the moment, another one at 2 o'clock, and one more at 4 o'clock. But we're going to get started today with Cullen Skink Fie Pie. So what I'm going to do is poach the fish, make a roux, cream the potatoes, and I'm going to infuse it with lots of flavours as we go along, but I'm going to turn this down a bit. I haven't done this with one of these microphones before, so you can tell me if it starts sounding a bit strange. Okay. So this is a lovely bit of fresh collie that we're going to use to poach the fish. If at any point you can hear a strange noise behind me, it's my wee dog, because I couldn't get a dog sitter today, which will be feeling quite lumpy that I'm not giving more cover. Okay, so when you go to the fishmonger and pick up your fish, good things to look for. I always personally like to buy my fish with the skin on. Some fish you can eat the skin nice and crispy, and other fishes are better if you remove it. For the fish pie, as you know, it's not a whole piece of fish, it's normally just broken down nicely into the stock, so we're going to take the skin off. While I'm making the sauce for the fish pie, you'll see I've got very standard white tatties simmering away in the pan. A little bit of salted water, that's it. I take a sharp knife and go right down the piece of fish there. And what we'll do here is we'll just make an incision there, flip the fish over, and we're going to take off the skin. Just run a short knife along the bottom and you'll remove the skin. I mean, you can ask your fishmonger to do this for you, you don't have to take it off yourself. So, fish ready, potatoes simmering. We're going to start by poaching the fish. So I've got a saucepan on, a little bit. Saucepan on, gentle heat. We're going to just pour some regular milk into the saucepan. And then what we'll do is we want the fish pie to be quite chunky, but not a big fillet of fish the way you do if you were having a fish supper. So we're going to cut the fish into smallish fillets like that. We're going to add it to the warm milk. Fish doesn't take long to cook, as you know. This is great if you're just getting in from work and you've only got half an hour to get something ready before dinner. And this is all going to come together, as long as my timings are right, in about 15 minutes. So if you get bored, go for a walk, come back, and we can eat some. We're going to poach the fish gently. And then we'll make the start on the roux. So who cooks at home? Does everyone know what a roux is? Basically white sauce, lasagna, fish pie. What else do we use it for? I really should know this. Say again? Cauliflower cheese. That's it. Who said that? Excellent. Full points. Full points because I forgot that too. Okay. In another pan, we're going to start the roux. So we're going to use a little bit of butter, around about 50 grams. So 1/5 of a normal block of butter. We're just going to melt that down. While the fish is coming up to poach, I want to bring the fish up and try and add some flavour into it, because milk and plain fish tastes fine, but you actually can impart quite a lot of flavour into it. Obviously going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And then into that as well, I'm just going to finely slice an onion and add it in with the milk and fish. That's going to give it a bit of flavour as well. So finely sliced onion into the milk. Now we're going to kind of lift the fish out with a slotted spoon, so you don't need to worry too much about making it all nice and even. Now, everyone's got things in their cupboards that they often don't use. One thing that I would really recommend you always having in your cupboard or your dry stores with your dried herbs and spices is this stuff here, star anise. It's fantastic with all vegetables, it's superb with fish, chicken, and all you do is when you're making a sauce, using the fish here, just put them in. They're not edible per se. So for example, when I'm fishing the fish out, I'm going to make sure these don't end up in your plate. But they will give the milk some flavour as the fish is cooking. So butter is melting nicely, and I'm going to add some flour now into the butter. Just plain. So, do you know, I don't actually have any self-raising flour because I was a smarter woman than me told me years ago, you don't need to have self-raising and plain flour, and I was a bit like, oh, why miss? And she said because you just add baking powder to plain flour. So for every 100, so when you're baking plain flour, for every 100 grams of flour that you use, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Anyway, I digress. A couple of spoonfuls of that. Now, I'm making a kind of Cullen Skink fish pie. So Cullen Skink is a soup, and fish pie, as you know, is quite creamy and rich. We're going somewhere in the middle of this because it's quite conscious that when you're cooking for families and when you're cooking at home, sometimes, especially now, it's not brilliantly warm at the moment. You still want a little bit of warmth, and I love Cullen Skink. But this is kind of family-friendly Cullen Skink because I'm not using smokier fish, which often puts young people off, you know, wanting to eat it. Should be making a family meal. Do they all like it? Yeah. They don't. Okay. No. Okay. So you can see here, I'm just browning the butter, stirring in the flour. The fish is just coming up to temperature. It's going to take about 10 or 12 minutes to cook. We have to cook the flour off. It's quite important when you're making a roux to not start adding the liquid before the flour itself is cooked off. And with the potatoes, all I've done, just standard boiled potatoes. We're going to hit this with some cream, some butter, and a bit of elbow grease, and we're there. Not a massive fan of, when people make mashed potato and they use like a food processor or something like that. Makes it go really, it kind of gets rid of the lumps, I get that, but it makes the potato really starchy and not as light and fluffy as you want. This will start to just cook down gently. And what we'll do when we start cooking the sauce off for the fish, we're going to use a combination of cold milk and a little bit of the warm milk that we're cooking the fish in. Again, that's just going to give it a bit of flavour. But let's get our other flavours ready first. Fresh lemon. Some nice fresh dill. Anyone like dill, hate dill? It's alright. Nah. It's okay. When you're picking something like fresh herbs, these bits are the ones that have got all the flavour. This bit is good if you've got a stock pot on the go. We're just going to pick up these nice little fronds to give it a little bit of flavour when we do the fish. See now, I've been cooking the flour down for a few minutes and it gets quite a nice smell. Should smell a little bit nutty, but you obviously don't want to colour it so much that the butter starts to burn and overcook the flour. So because that's kind of where I want it to be, I'm just going to turn it off for a second. Relax. Fish is coming up to temperature. And we'll chop some fresh dill. And what we're also going to mix through is a little bit of fresh leek. So let's swap these boards over because I have to stay close to this, so it's like a juggling act there. Every time I go away, come back. Okay. One fresh leek. Again, just take the top off the end here. Bottom. Let's cut the leek right down the middle. And then one more time again. It's quite funny doing demo because when you're in a professional kitchen, your bench is here. This is quite low, so I'm feeling like my knife skills are a little bit more complicated. You'll see that the fish is starting to simmer away now. Just going to turn it down gently. As you know, like a white flaky fish like Coley. I chose this fish today because it's cheap, it's sustainable, and nearly every fishmonger has it. But you can go posh and start using salmon, trout, haddock, smoked haddock, cod, and all these ones. But I've chosen. We'll put that to one side. We're going to pop our tatties back on. Okay. We're going to start now by adding some of that milk that we poached this fish in into the roux. And we'll just do that gently by using a spoon, holding back the fish and the aromats and adding it there, and it'll all come up quite nicely. Add a wee bit and then take a spoon and just cook it all through. You don't want a lumpy one, okay? So just stirring it nicely makes the whole thing come together. I know we don't have any screens above me, it's hard for you guys to see, but that all comes together really, really quickly. And just by stirring it constantly, not using a whisk, you can just work through any of the small lumps. And back to the heat, and we just want to cook it for a couple more minutes. Gonna add a little bit more salt at this point. We're gonna get that lemon. Use a grater or a microplane or anything like that. Use the zest. When you're zesting, even at home, you know the handheld zesters that you guys have all got in the kitchen at home. When you're zesting a lemon, go light. You don't want to go heavy because underneath the nice fragrant yellow, which is the bit that we want to eat, is quite a bitter white pith. So you want to leave that on the lemon. Obviously, you can squeeze the lemon afterwards. Just going to very lightly run the microplane over this. Okay, and we're going to stir again. Adding a little more milk now that those lumps have gone. You can make a roux just using regular milk, but when you use the roux that you cook the fish in, you're obviously getting quite a lot of flavour. And I know that people say, oh, I don't really like fishy fish and strong flavours. This is a very light flavoured dish. It really doesn't have that kind of strong flavour. The reason I chose doing this today is I was trying to think of things that I know every single person has in a kitchen at home, and that every single thing that a person can buy from the supermarket. So when I write and come to places like Springfest to cook dishes, yeah, I can show you some complicated things using some really cool bits of equipment and some really beautiful, incredible produce. But the truth is I know how I eat at home, and I also know what I've got in my kitchen at home. So I'm trying to be more in your head than you are in mine, if that makes sense. Adding a little more milk now. The fish is beautifully cooked at the moment, just flaky, soft, the way you like it. I'm going to add a good glug of double cream because I'm a big fan of cream. What we can do now is use a whisk just to break everything down. Just whisk this sauce together nicely and it will come together. At this point, you should probably test it to see if it needs any salt, pepper, depends how you like it. I think it needs a bit of lemon juice. Okay, and now we're going to start adding in the leek and the dill to the sauce. I mean, I think I've been demoing for about 10, 12, 15 minutes at the moment. So you can see all I'm using is a couple of pans, a knife and a chopping board. Everything that you guys have already in your kitchen, I hope. You can buy mashed potato. There's a takeaway shop. Yeah, well, I know. I finished work very late last night, and I did a beautiful meal in Edinburgh for some clients. They told me it was beautiful. I didn't really have time to eat it. I tried it, but when I got home last night, I had some Marks and Spencer's Cullen Cater sweets, and they were very nice. We're just stirring the veg through now. You can still take the veg at the beginning in another pan if you like, but the leeks, for me, sometimes when we cook things like leek and onion and all the allium family, the gentler their heat, the better. They've all got a natural sweetness to them. The heat imparts the flavour. That's why we don't eat raw leek. We obviously cook leek. But gentle heat, I think, works really well. It just gives it a little bit more flavour, a little bit lighter. You know, when you're frying an onion and it goes quite brown in the pan, really critical, it tastes better. You know, you can make onion confit, start gently, and then you increase the heat, adding sugar and caramelise it down. It doesn't taste better. But when you cook things like anything onion on a too higher heat, you will get a slight different taste. This is starting to look very much like comfort food. I won't lie, it's exactly what I'm in the mood for, I can't lie. Or a bacon roll if there's a bacon roll place nearby, I don't know. Keeping the dill back till the end, because dill's quite, he's chefy, it's quite a lively flavour. You don't need to cook it too much in the sauce. It'll get a bit wet and a bit absorbed, more just for sprinkling over the top. So, mashed potatoes, lots of butter, lots of cream. Yeah, me too. Lots of chefs say to each other that only lazy chefs use a lot of butter and cream. So, yeah. Or good chefs, French chefs. I've never cooked with a French chef who doesn't encourage me to use more butter, more cream. I work in kitchens and I go to places where I'm aware of how much that's food is kind of cheating sometimes because it's amazing flavour. But sometimes, like today, I just want you guys to taste the fish that I'm cooking and let that speak for itself a little bit. Right, that's now been cooking away probably for about 10-15 minutes. I'm just going to lower the heat down now. It's pretty much done what I need it to do. We've got some garnish ready. So to recap, all we did here was poach the fish in some aromats with some onions and some star anise and some salt and pepper. Did we put anything else in it? No. And then we made a roux using flour. I'll show it to my dog. She's very excited about it. Did she get out? Okay, so she escaped. This is nearly the worst day of my life. Now, this is just depending on your preference, but I like a bit of mustard in a white sauce. Dijon English mustard's got a kick to it that I quite like. Lots of people like coarse grain mustard. I like it too, but coarse grain mustard has those little seeds in it. You either like them or you don't. Personally, I find them quite hard to palate. Sometimes, if you get something really mustardy, mayonnaise, like in a hamburger, I quite like it. But in a sauce, not so much. So I'm just going to use a teaspoon. It doesn't look like a teaspoon, but I did just use a teaspoon. Chef's teaspoon, which is about this big, right? And we're going to stir that through. Okay, that's looking nice. Robin's going to very kindly strain the water off those potatoes, and then we're just going to mash them up. And then we're going to bring the whole thing together and eat some fish pie. And you'll notice that I haven't, because I've got a very nice simmering hot sauce here, my fish is already cooked. As long as I lift the fish out quite carefully and finish it with the sauce, I'm not panicking about keeping this hot. There's still a bit of residual milk and liquor in the pan. You know, all proteins are kind of based on the same thing. You cook a piece of fish, you cook a steak, you cook a piece of chicken, let it rest. It's like anything else. The heat has a way of making any protein, you've got to apply the heat to cook it. But it's leaving it alone for a few minutes is what it's a bit like when you feel your shoulders drop. It's just the same. Leave your fish and meat after you cook them, leave them in the pan, finish them with a bit of butter or lemon juice or whatever, but just let it rest because you do find that it really does improve. When people say that a steak tastes really buttery or really tender or really melty, it's often just because it's been, well cooked, I hope, but also well rested. The joint on a Sunday, when you're cooking a side of meat, I leave my turkey or my bird on Christmas Day to rest for like 90 minutes. I forget all about it. I don't care. Everyone's kind of always very interested in kind of having everything together all at the same time. Let it rest. Cover it up, let it rest. Okay, tatties. We're going to add big dollops of lazy butter. Which is about how much I put on a piece of toast. And we're going to add some lazy cream. And we're going to, at this point, give it a little bit of salt. And a bit of pepper. Again, crunchy black pepper that I know we all like to use. I'm not telling you not to use these things, I'm just try and think of things that aren't quite so textured. You often find that there's just more delicate flavour. I know white pepper is really old-fashioned, but it does what you need it to do, but it doesn't alter the consistency of your sauce. You might like big chunky peppercorns, sometimes you might not. Robin always wants me to crack tons of black pepper into his food. I'm always like, no. I've tried, as I say, to reiterate, I'm cooking dishes today based on everything I know you guys have in your kitchen. I'm not going to lie, I've put some nice fancy toys in my kitchen. But what's the point in bringing them here? I can bring you a Thermomix and nice meat slicers and Paco Jets and water baths and all this stuff, but you don't have them at home, and to be honest, nor do I. I don't have them in my home kitchen either. So I'm just trying to think of things that you guys can do. Does anyone not have a potato masher? I'm really interested to know if people... yeah, everyone's got a potato masher, right? move away from my mic and do some work now. Might warm me up a little bit. It's actually quite chilly. Add a tiny bit of milk to the tables, a little bit thinner than cream, just gives me a little bit to work with. And then in the sauce, because again, we're kind of, not, I've made a fish pie, but actually I'm thinking more comforting, Cullen Skink, which is why we're going to loosen the sauce a wee bit with just a little bit of water. Thick or thin soup, people? Do you like nice, light broth, or do you like soup that you can eat with a knife and fork? Yeah. My mum's soup and my mum's porridge were the same consistency. But my mum, I can't at all slate my mum because she taught me how to cook, so, and it serves me okay thus far. On red yet? Needs a bit of salt. And obviously needs a bit more butter.
Always.
Let that melt through. We'll just do one final check of the fish sauce. I mean, I think it tastes nice. You can tell me. So I'm going to be doing a couple more dishes today. So we're going to plate this shortly if you want to try it. About 2 o'clock today, once I've tidied up this god-awful mess I've made, I'm going to show you guys how to joint out a chicken. Now, reason being is that I'm going to make chicken dumplings that will take about 15 minutes to make, and a kind of miso broth that takes under 5. So again, like this, super quick. I've talked more than I've cooked today. So you can do this in half the time it's taking me. I'm going to show you how to joint out a chicken. Reason being is that I have noticed walking around supermarkets recently that chicken's got quite expensive. Also, chicken breasts seem to now, I mean, tell me I'm wrong, but a packet of chicken breast now looks like it costs more than the chicken. So let's show you how to use the whole chicken so that you get twice as much chicken for the breast that you're buying. And I know a lot of the people say, I don't really like the brown meat on the chicken. It's all to do with how you cook it. So I'm going to explain to you at 2 o'clock today how we take the slow cooking pieces off the bird for one dish, but we're going to use the chicken breast today to make chicken dumplings. So, I don't know how many people want to try this. I'll do a wee spoonful for everyone. That seems like a good idea. Yeah, you just come and do it. flavour. When we cooked the fish earlier on, I added the aromat to it, which is the star anise. It's given it some lovely flavour, but not a lovely kind of hard aniseedy flavour. It doesn't. I mean, I know that some people like it, some people don't. It's got a much broader flavour than just aniseed, but that's the best way to describe it. That's great with fish. Just pick those out in case anyone's got false teeth. So, fish, as you can see, is all nicely poached down. This sauce, by the way, is quite rich. Yeah. Is she looking at me? Oh no, that. Oh, no.
It smells amazing, by the way.
Oh, good. You need more ties, okay? I'm on the keto diet. I can't have potatoes. And what we'll do, just for extra yum, again, a little bit of sauce over the potato as well. Just finished with a video. Anyway, so I will be back at 2 o'clock to do some chicken dumplings with coconut miso. But the first 12 people can go and try some Cullen Skink Fie Pie. Thank you very much for hanging around and watching. It's been nice to have you guys here. Thank you.